It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to the dog days of August, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are always grateful for you. It's Jill on Money, where we are broadcasting live from the Capital One studios. Fantastic, right? Yoo-ha. Hey, you know the summertime, you want that summer reading list? Maybe you should be going to jillonmoney.com and checking out some of the reading that you might have missed. We write columns and write blog posts, all this good stuff. It's right there, jillonmoney.com. You can read all the stuff that you need to know. We also have a wonderful resource tab that Mark keeps up to date. Do you think that there are some resources missing from that tab? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. While you're at the website, you can just click the Contact Us button and tell us you've run across a great resource or two. We'd be happy to put those resources up for everyone else to enjoy because we get smarter with you. Got it? And by the way, if you have a financial question, and there you are on the website Jill on Money, when you hit that Contact Us button, you will be drafted right into this wonderful world of Jill on Money, where we would help you out. All you have to do is click on that Contact Us button, and you can just tell us what's going on. Give us some info, and we'd be delighted to help you out. Mark, are we doing okay on digging out of the emails? I fear that August will see them pile up again. So if you do send us a note, just be patient. We will get to it. We have cycles at the show. So when the emails start to really pile up, we start to plow through them in extra episodes. So don't worry, we will get to you. Be patient. Okay. We like to begin the program with a caller. And today our caller is Devin. He is calling from Pittsburgh. Welcome to the program. What can I do for you, Devin?
I just have a quick question for you. I think it's fairly basic, but some of your takes on debt and paying down debt are interesting to me. So I wanted to ask you this quick question. Basically, I have a car note, and it's a nice low. I think it's 1.9% per year.
Yeah.
So I owe about, let's call it 14 on the car.
Okay.
And I have a kind of a cash savings bucket, and there's about, let's call it $28K in there. And I'm really, really tempted to pay off the car with that cash.
Because you hate that. You hate it. You hate it. You hate the car.
I just want to get rid of it because that's the only debt that I have right now.
Okay. Well, that's great.
And I just want to be debt-free, and it's really just a psychological thing. But what I would do with that $400 a month payment that I pay towards the car is probably put it into an IRA, which then would get me some tax benefits there.
Okay.
But then it would also obviously take a nice chunk, pretty much half of my cash savings right now, which I want to use to potentially buy a house, maybe buy. It's not quite an emergency fund, but it's more of an investment fund.
Do you have a separate emergency reserve fund?
I do not. I would say, in my mind, 5 or 10 of that is emergency.
Mm-hmm. How much do you earn, Devin?
It's called about $100 a year.
Okay. Are you putting money into a employer-based retirement plan right now?
I am, yeah.
How much?
I think I put in, if I'm remembering correctly, it's about 15% of my pay.
401k straight up?
No, you know what? I think it's more like 12, 13% into the IRA where I get the tax benefit now. Let's call it. So I put in the max to a Roth, whatever percentage that is, 5%.
Yeah.
And then 4 or 5% into another tax advantage HSA.
Okay.
So all in all,
so that's good.
That I'm saving.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay. So here's the thing. You make $100,000. You've got this car payment. Where do you live? You got a rental or are you living at home?
We rent a house. It's about $1,200 a month.
Oh, cheap. When you say we, is there a we, Kemosabe? Is there a partner?
My fiance and I.
Okay. And fiance, how about the earning potential over there? How much does the fiance make?
She is a school teacher, so I don't know, maybe half what I make.
Yeah, but steady, man, steady.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But you make good money together. That's the good news.
Yeah.
If you are looking at a home to buy, I mean, first you're going to get married probably. How much do you think you'd need to spend on a home that you'd want to live in for a while?
It's a great question. I'm not a big fan of starter homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so all in all, I'd say about 300 would probably be the final price of a home that we would buy.
Okay, great. The cash that is sitting in that account, that $28,000, any idea about how much it's earning?
Yeah, it's in an Ally account, so it's at this point maybe like 1.7, 1.8.
Okay. So it's
You could just
kind of
bump
a
it up,
push between the cash and the car in terms of rate. The car rate is a tiny bit higher than the cash account. In other words, if you were like, oh, I'm making 0.25% and my car loan's 4.9%, that's an easy decision to make, right?
Yeah,
Not as easy right now. How many years left on the car loan?
about 2.5 out of 5.
Okay. You're going to hate me. Keep the dumb car loan. Just keep it.
I
Don't
figured
worry.
you were
You're
gonna
going to, because you know what? You'll pay it off. It's cheap money. You'll pay it off. At the point when you have that $400 a month, then you're going to start jamming more cash into that account so that you can accumulate the money you need for your home down payment. And, you know, I presume that it's probably the timing's about right, because when are you getting married?
November.
Okay. You know, look, the $1,200 a month rent is such a good number that I'm not, unless you hate the place, it's nice to stay there and just pop a lot of money in. You're putting money into your retirement, which is great. You know, you are putting about 20% away, which is a fantastic savings goal. How old are you?
33.
I mean, you're young. So I would say you're doing exactly what you should be doing. If you end up making more than 100, if all of a sudden you're making 120 and you want to start saving more aggressively for the house, that's great. But I would keep the car loan because your liquidity is kind of the keys to the kingdom, that money that's sitting in cash. So if you found that you get married and then it's a year from now, and you say, oh, I actually found a house that I want for $300,000. We have we got some wedding money. There's $35,000 in cash. We're going to take that money, even though we're not putting 20% down. We'll put less than 20% down. We can get into a house we love, whatever. You run the numbers and it works. That's one thing. But if you've paid off the car loan, you don't even have the choice. You need that money because you've got stuff to do. So the good news is the car loan's cheap. And it's gone in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So
I barely drive it either.
if you're feeling like, oh, I really just want to buy a house. Like, calm down. Patience is going to be a very necessary component to you going through this process. Get married, settle in, start, looking at how you guys want to manage your money together, go through that process, and then call me back and we'll talk about buying a house. How's that?
Yeah, I might hold you to that, Jill.
All right. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, we will get back to more of your questions. This is Jill on Money. And if you want to, why don't you follow us on social media? We're just everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Jill on Money is our handle. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You are back. It's Jill on Money. And if you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Just hop onto the website, jillonmoney.com, or send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Hey, all you folks who are looking at colleges right now with your rising high school seniors, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you're finding and whether or not you're having the tough conversations about college. That's your job. You've got to talk about the money. The money actually matters. It really does. So let us know how those college viewing trips are going, and we'll bring you on the air, hopefully. All right, let's go back to the calls. Katie is on the line from Omaha, and I've already asked her, don't worry, she's not related to Warren Buffett. Do you see him at McDonald's every morning, Katie? You pass him? Is he a figure about town?
He is a figure about town, but I don't personally eat at McDonald's very often, so no.
Yeah, I like that. You don't stalk him, which is probably a nice thing. So
I think he appreciates that.
Katie, besides not stalking Warren Buffett, what are you doing in Omaha? What do you do?
I work in healthcare.
Great. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay. Married, single?
Married.
Okay. Spouse does what?
Yep. He works in hospitality. He's 38.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about what's going on and how we can help you out.
Well, so, we're years away from retirement, but I have always felt kind of behind with retirement because I didn't start working until my late 20s. And we're at a point now where I thought, hey, maybe we should figure out which is the best vehicle for us to increase our savings into, whether that's retirement. My husband has an option for deferred compensation versus Backdoor Roth or just plain old taxable investing.
Okay. So how much money do you guys make?
$250, $255 pre-tax.
Okay, that's good. And I have to imagine that goes a decent way in Omaha, or am I being normal, East Coast skewed, snobby, whatever?
The cost of living here is pretty good. So I would say, right now we have about $2,000, maybe $2,500 every month that I just like to do something with.
You're both maxing out your retirement accounts through work?
Yeah, so his is about, $1,000 away, and I have the highly compensated employee rule.
That stinks.
I can only do 10%, right.
That annoys me. I hate that rule. Okay. These are traditional 401k accounts?
So his is a traditional, and mine is a Roth 401k.
Oh, good.
Just about a year ago. So I'm putting all of my money into that just so that we're diversified in retirement.
Love that. And it's good anyway because, honestly, you're in the 24% tax bracket. You're going to stay in that tax bracket probably. I'm happy to have you use the Roth. How much money is in retirement savings currently?
So his is at 130.
Great.
Mine is at 120.
Okay, good.
And then I have 10K in a Roth from when I was a kid that I haven't been able to contribute to.
That's how young you are. You could have been a kid and used a Roth, whereas I remember when a Roth was introduced and I was working. I don't know if I feel good about that. Call me your Aunt Jill right now. All right, so what else is going on? You got a house?
We got a house.
How much is it worth?
$380.
Mortgage?
Yes.
How much left?
About $300.
Okay.
At 3.6%.
All right. No rush to pay that off. Any debt from college or anything like that?
Yes.
What do you got?
So he's got about $20,000 at 2%.
$20,000 at 2% is nice. That's not so bad.
I know. But mine's where it gets bad.
Uh-oh. Tell your great Aunt Jill what's happening.
I have about $250,000 in student loan debt.
Stop it. Mark just fell over on the board. In fact, this may not even be recording right now because he's just fallen over. You're in healthcare. What did you do? Are you a nurse? Are you a doctor? What's happening?
I'm a pharmacist.
Okay. So you're a pharmacist.
Right. And the loans are in the public service forgiveness.
Oh,
plan.
Okay.
So I have 5 years left, and then the rest is forgiven.
So you're making payments right now.
Correct.
Because you have to stay current.
Every year. Yeah, based on how much money we make, it goes up.
There's no reason for you to pay it down. I mean, you are halfway through. What's the rate on the 250?
Like 200 of it is at 6.8, and then I think the rest is at 8% or something.
So you're working for a public service institution recognized by the plan. You're doing all of everything you have to do. You've got to dot the I's and cross the T's because I'm telling you, they're going to ding people, right?
Every year.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Send them my tax returns, all that kind of stuff.
You got some kids? What's happening?
No kids.
Okay.
Just lots of medical bills.
Oh, how nice for you.
Couple of years.
Yeah. Are those bills paid off or are they still outstanding?
Everything is paid off. We haven't had to decrease our retirement savings, which is really great.
Okay. How about emergency reserve fund or non-retirement investments?
Yeah, so we've got about $50,000 right now sitting in cash.
Okay.
which for us is about 6 months if we were both out of work, which would be unlikely that we were both out.
But you're very conservative, so that's good. I mean, the only thing you're really taking a roll of the dice on is the loan forgiveness. What are you going to do? You got to try. You're in it.
Right.
And every day that passes is a better day for you.
That's what I'm hoping.
Okay. So what are we going to do with this $2,000 to $2,500 a month? This is the interesting thing. So right now you are putting money into a Roth. You guys are prevented from doing a contributory Roth. That's why I like the Roth 401k for you. If for some reason your husband's employer introduces a Roth option to the 401k, do that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the tax bracket is so big now. It's not like it really changes.
Exactly.
anything.
Exactly. All right. What are we going to do with this cash? Is there anything else that is out there that I should know about? Anything else in terms of, needs, wants, desires for the $2,000 or $2,500 a month? Anything that we're looking for that needs to be we're focused on?
I don't think so. I have a car loan that's $12,000 at 1%.
Oh God.
So I'm not looking to pay that off early.
Correct.
And we have a rental property that essentially runs itself. Like it's positive $3,000 a year, maybe. Not very much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll just keep that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
think we'll do anything with that.
But you don't have to do any big renovation there or anything like that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Nothing.
So we got money to play with. And I say play, I mean that very seriously. But money that is available. I don't know what's going to happen. You got a bunch of money already saved in retirement. You're doing good retirement savings. Maybe we should just open a plain brokerage account. You're in a pretty, you're in a good tax bracket to start saving some money. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, we opened an investing account last year. It's got about $5,000 in it. We've just kind of been adding a little bit every single month.
And what are you putting in that account?
Index
No, I mean like
funds.
investments. What are the investments inside it?
Oh, just like ETFs and,
Okay,
low cost,
good.
whatever I can
Low
find.
cost mutual funds, index funds, keeping it simple. Okay, I think you should keep doing that for a little while. You got some money that's socked away already. You've got some Roth money. Let's build up your non-retirement assets. Who knows what you're going to do? You guys going to stick around Omaha? You're going to leave? I mean, is that a possibility? It's not a bad thing.
I think eventually we'll have to move, but I'd like to stay here for another 5 or 6 years at least.
I think we should make this investment account. I think we should call it short to intermediate term money. And I think this is the money you build up. And here's why. Couple things. One, God forbid something weird happens with the loan forgiveness. I want you to have some money available that you can do something with. In other words, like if they say, yeah, we'll wipe away this, $200,000, but you've got 50 on your own, then you have money to pay that off. Keep adding to your investment account. Use that taxable investment account to be an insurance policy in the next 5 years. And then I think in 5 years, you'll have a very different decision to make because I do think that you'll know more. I bet that, at that point, you'll have to make a decision about do you stay at this employer or not and all those things. But I like the idea of having a little slush fund just in case. Okay, when we return, more of your calls. And as I mentioned before we did the call with Katie, if you're looking at colleges, don't forget you've got lots of resources. One of my favorites, BethKobliner.com. The We Need to Talk College section is fantastic. Okay, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you have a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Very easy to do. Just send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Am I still supposed to encourage people to follow us on Twitter or not? I think so. You still send good stuff out. Make it happen. You can go to jillonmoney.com. You can listen to past shows. You can also tune in and make sure that you check out everything that we do here now. It's all good. jillonmoney.com. That is our website. Read, listen, watch. Sign up for our free newsletter. And you can also buy the book. How about that? So easy to do. The dumb things smart people do with their money. 13 ways to right your financial wrongs. Let's go and do some emails. Here is a question from Christine. I love your podcast. I'm hoping you can help me figure out what to do in regards to retirement and buying a home. I moved to Southern California 4 years ago. I've been renting. And I'm at the point where I want to buy, but I'm not sure because I'm 54. I've always rented, and when I lived in Illinois for 15 years, I was only paying $495 a month, utilities included. Needless to say, I saved money. I've got $600,000 in my 401k and Roth, and $84,000 in a brokerage account. Emergency funds a little weak at $10,000 because I was off 5 months last year. I was putting 30% of my paycheck into a 401 since the beginning of the year. I'm hoping to max out. I'm also maxing out my Roth. With all that said, do you think I should do any assistance? I tell you what, Chris, I wouldn't be buying anything right now. The real estate market, if you could tell me that you can own a place for a cheaper rent, then yeah, maybe. But you're kind of closing in like the last 10 or 15 years of your career. If anything, I would much prefer you not to tie up your liquid assets. Now's the time to keep renting, but put more money in non-retirement savings. So you got a bunch of money in retirement? Let's beef up that emergency reserve fund. Let's do that. Let's beef up the money that's already been taxed. So it's a Roth or it's a non-retirement account. I think that would be better. All right, Barry writes, I started working in 1967. My first W-2 was for $2,300 for the year. We were to rely on Social Security or a pension if offered for retirement. I didn't get into a 401k until the 1980s. I sure wish I knew then what I know now, because living on Social Security is not enough, and 401k is not cutting it right now. I guess I was born too soon. I don't know about that, Barry, but it's a good lesson. How many people say to us, Mark, gosh, I wish I started sooner? That seems to me everybody says it. Just saying. Okay, Daniel writes, I just heard your show yesterday, and a caller with a similar issue as I had. I'm in good shape financially, retired military, reached critical mass, mortgage paid off, no debt, $300,000 in Roth IRAs for me and my wife. All my investments are with USAA. I just ordered your book and newsletter, but my question concerns my parents. They are retired. They're both 85. They've saved well their whole lives. They've got a net worth of more than $1.5 million. They live frugally in the house I grew up in, driving 15-year-old cars. They have everything with a brokerage firm, and I think they're being taken advantage of by that firm. By the way, I'm not mentioning the name of that firm because that's the kind of gal I am. They have no clue about the amount of fees they pay each year. They both have small traditional IRAs, and they started Roth IRAs at age 64. They didn't convert all of their money into Roths. I don't understand why. The bulk of their portfolio, it's stocks. $250,000 in one stock. I always understood that at their age, their portfolio should be less risky, a bit more in bonds. They like what they have, and they think the company is doing right by them. But I think they need to restructure and consolidate their many accounts to reduce fees. I heard you say that baby steps is the way to go. I say my folks are drinking the Kool-Aid. They don't want to hear what I say. Dad still pays $11 a month for a $10,000 life insurance policy that he got me from the VA in 1956. Okay. What should a portfolio worth in excess of $1.5 million look like for an 85-year-old retired couple? Currently, it's 75% stock. I think it needs to flip to an income or a bond fund for 75% and not more than 25% in stock. I think you're right. I mean, I guess that, look, if they never pulled any money out of the portfolio, one could make an argument that they could take on more risk because they're really investing it for you. But in general, it doesn't seem like they need to be taking this much risk. Here's a question. What's up with financial management companies not showing their fees on annual statements? I asked my parents to have the company show them the fees charged for 2018. I'm betting they won't provide it. I looked up the fees on the website. It's mostly fine print, blah, blah, blah. They've got IRAs, some mutual funds, one big annuity, and multiple stock accounts. Hard to figure out fees. 1% a good ballpark for fees? Yeah, that's a good ballpark for $1.5 million. But listen, if they have 250 grand in one stock, there's no fee on that stock. So it depends how. Here's the thing. Question to ask the company. How are they paying? How are your parents paying for these services? Is it a commission base or is it a fee base? Is it a certain percentage of assets under management? The thing that is very hard in this is that the onus will be on you, or in this case, your parents, to really dig in and figure out what's there. And it's very hard to do. So I would love it if you could get me a statement from them. Maybe we could look at it. We could do a little forensic accounting on it. You know what might be good? Why don't you see if your parents will allow you to come to the meeting with a broker? And then you can ask you can write down the questions in advance and just say to your parents, like, I just think we should have this information. Maybe that's the way to do it. Don't push too hard, of course, because if they're doing fine, you don't want to have like a really bad Thanksgiving meal because you push too hard. All right? Tim is 66, retired, not in the best of health, 180 grand in a 401k, draws $1,500 of it for living expenses. I'm not comfortable leaving it in the 401k. I want something secure so I don't lose money like I did in the last crash. Should I put it in my bank savings account where I know it's safe? Oh, I mean, you can move it into our IRA rollover, and then you can, if you want to do it at a bank, you can certainly buy CDs with it and be safe like that. But remember, you won't be keeping up with inflation, okay? So, good luck. It's Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Remember, I am a certified financial planner, a professional trademark. That's so funny when they have their little registered mark. They call it the mark. Anyway, we CFPs, we like to look at you holistically. So that's why when you send us a note, we want you to give us as much detail as you can. Sue writes that she's recently retired. She's 65 years old. And here's where I would like a little bit more detail. She says, I've got $400,000 in a qualified retirement account. And you ready for this? She needs to make $15,000 a year from her $400,000. How do you think she's going to do that, Mark? How's she going to do that? Not going to happen. That's right. It's going to be close. I don't know if you mean to you. So here's the thing. If you have $400,000, you're not saying you want to make. I think what you're saying, let me rephrase this. I think what you're saying is you want to pull $15,000 a year from your retirement account. And are you saying you want net or you want gross? And you're close. I think you could have a balanced portfolio and be pretty close, but it's going to be, some years it's going to look easy, some years it's going to be hard. So I think that a balanced portfolio, will be pretty good, half risky, half not so risky. If you are thinking about index funds and managing yourself, I would try to, think about whether or not you can really take the ups and downs because you say you're a conservative investor. If you are a conservative investor, you may want more like 60% or 65% in safer stuff, in which case it might be hard to generate that 15 grand a year. So you're close. I just don't know if you're going to make it. Okay. Let's see. This is a message from Brian, who's getting ready to retire, considering rolling over his 401k into an IRA. I want your opinion on mutual funds versus exchange-traded funds. I've heard some thoughts about this. I'm concerned about longevity. ETF versus mutual fund. What do you think? Well, if it's an exchange-traded fund and it's based on an index, and it's a mutual fund and it's based on an index, then I don't think there's a big difference. You can trade an exchange-traded fund more easily throughout the day, intraday. But we're talking about long-term investing. Both of them are going to be efficient as long as you don't mess around with it too much. So I don't think in your case you have a huge issue. I would really caution you that exchange-traded funds, they can sort of induce you to think you're going to trade them. So I would just be careful with that. And by the way, here's a follow-up question from a different person, Michael, who says, index funds are actively managed funds. Index funds. Over the long term, index funds really do tend to outperform the managed funds. And part of the reason is that managed funds cost more. But again, with an index fund or an index exchange-traded fund, the costs are really low, and that money flows to you. Really, the big mistake is not whether I should pick any of the, one index versus another index or an exchange-traded fund index or a mutual fund index. It is about a passive approach versus an active one. And I really like the passive approach of index funds. And if you don't want to do it yourself, then you may want to turn to an online advisor or an online platform. Vanguard Personal Service Advisor, Schwab Intelligent Portfolio, Betterment, Wealthfront, Personal Capital. All these are good companies. And they're pretty cheap if you need advice. That's also what Jacob is asking about. In need of a financial planner or advisor, can you help me? Yeah, I can help you. First of all, go to JillOnMoney.com because there I have a brand new, exciting part of the resource section. I updated my 10 questions about financial advisors. 13 financial questions to ask. I don't know, Mark. I think we need to say 13. I think we have to say 13 questions to ask before hiring an advisor. Maybe that's how we should do it. 13 questions to ask before hiring a financial advisor. Too long? All right, we'll come up with a better one. But anyway, it's the first article under the resource section. Right underneath that, we have a link to find a CFP professional. Right underneath that, we have a link to the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. So we've got a lot of resources right there. So check it out, okay? And you got to really figure out, do you need this? Are there other ways to do it? All of those things. This is a follow-up to a question that we got about robo-advisors. And the follow-up question was, we narrowed our search down to Vanguard with a simpler format and a dedicated CFP for periodic reviews. Schwab is less flexible, is what he's saying. Too many funds. And Schwab forces you to have 8 to 12% in cash, and they only pay 33% of the market rate. What can you do that I couldn't do myself? They rebalance. I think it makes sense for me to use what is... So basically, I don't know. I think he's leaning towards Vanguard. That's his journey. Everyone should check this out themselves. So it's Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a holler. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back. It is Jill on Money. And if you've got a financial question, just give us a holler. You can reach us by email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com or just go to the website. It's very easy to do. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, the Contact Us button. It's right there. We also love it when you just send us general messages, like comments about things you may have seen me talk about on TV, or maybe just an insight you have reading a interesting book that's helped you, or just maybe a generalized question, anything. It doesn't have to be specifically personal finance. It can be. Happy to do that. So I got a great email a while back from Tom, who was asking about about the financial meltdown. And so he's following up, and he says, thanks for mentioning that both the Bush and Obama administrations dealt with a financial meltdown. He says, it's amazing to me. People listen. It's amazing to me to listen to people who do or should know better all blame bailouts on the Obama administration. And I do agree that presidents probably get too much blame and too much praise, depending when it comes to the economy. One question I'm trying to determine an answer to. If someone is off unemployment compensation and still not working anywhere, how would the government know to include these people in its numbers? Okay, so the government has two different ways to calculate unemployment figures. One way, they go to employers and they say, how many people did you hire? How many people did you fire? And that's where you get that top line number, so many jobs added in a specific month. The household survey is how you actually figure out the unemployment rate. And so the way that the household survey works is it's literally a call. Are you working? Yes, no. Are you actively seeking a job? Yes, no. And they extrapolate and are able to determine the unemployment rate. It's not very scientific. And as you write, Tom, it is a little bit like throwing darts. But in that case, over the longer term, over the course of a year, we do get a better sense of the employment landscape. I hope that helps. Anyway, we got a whole nother hour of this program, so stay tuned. It's Jill on Money. During the break, go on over to the website, jillonmoney.com, and there you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You are back. It is hour number 2 of the Jill on Money program, and we are broadcasting live from the Policy Genius studios. Policy Genius is the easy way to compare and buy insurance, all different kinds of insurance. Go to policygenius.com. All right. A month or two ago, I wrote a big article for Tribune about tariffs and the trade war and all that stuff, which was hot in the news. And we got a slug of email questions about this. So, by the way, if your local paper doesn't carry my column, why don't you tell them they should? Check it out. Okay. So the first question that we have here is from James, who read about this in the Broward County, Florida Sun Sentinel. He wants to know, where do the collected tariffs go? Are they designated for trade-related issues or just general revenue? Good question. Thank goodness the New York Times had just written an article like a couple months after I wrote my article, so I have many, many good facts to cite. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about the Chinese imports for now. The money raised is about $21 billion. It goes to, and that's from the U.S. States Customs and Border Protection. So that comes in as just general revenue, $21 billion. The only problem is that we've already committed, the president and the administration committed to paying American farmers hurt by the trade war $28 billion. So anyway, that's not, one way or the other, I guess that, you feel like the tariffs maybe make some money, but that sounds like a net negative. So they've cost more money than they have brought in. Okay. Melvin wants to know, this is the same thing. Melvin wanted to know basically the same question. They're not restricted. They're general. So that's important. So then we have questions about, has anyone done research on the impact on the sales results for the foreign companies? Yeah, so this is what's interesting. So since I wrote that article, we did get information out from China where their growth rate had slowed down to 6.2%. And that there's clearly some problems that we're seeing that the Chinese companies are certain Chinese companies are not doing so great with that. We also know that, China exports are about 20% of the economy. Here in the U.S., it's 12% of the economy. So we know that China's kind of hurting a little bit, but we don't see that we are actually doing that much better as a result. So that's what I would say. A lot of companies, what they are doing is shifting their supply chains, meaning that instead of going to China, they might go to Vietnam or they might go to Korea. So there's just a lot going on, and if you're a multinational, you're moving things around as much as you possibly can. Okay, I'm still doing tariffs, Mark. This is from James. Why does the president feel that these are beneficial weapons to use? I think that this is what I would assume, and I would never presume to actually know what a president or anyone is thinking, but I think the thought might be that the tariffs will cause so much pain to China, and we just saw again that the Chinese growth rate is softening, that the Chinese will come back to the negotiating table and it will be a better negotiation because they will be desperate. So far, that hasn't happened. So that's that. Let's keep going on tariffs. Anything else here? Whew, I'm tariffing myself to death here. Here's a tariff question. To whom do importers pay the tariff? That's the federal government. And so, again, it's about $22 billion. And that is, unfortunately, been $27 billion promised to go out. Mark, did I do all? I think I've done all the tariff questions. Did you not send me the ones that were mean? I'm sure there was a plenty of mean ones. Thank you for not doing that. I appreciate it. How much time do I have in this segment? May I shift gears now? Yes. Here's a question, which I think is interesting, from Teddy. I enjoy listening and learning with you. I have some questions about helping my parents care for their money in retirement. My father was a longtime IBMer. He's got a big retirement from there. My mother is a retired school teacher. My father has Parkinson's disease. They are living in an assisted living facility, which is covered by their long-term care insurance. Wow, that's amazing. I do need some help managing their assets. They've got a lot of IBM stock, a decent amount of cash. I wondered if you have some advice for me. Teddy, yes, I do. First of all, you should ask for some referrals in your area, maybe from an accountant or some friends. But what you may want to do is go to NAPFA, N-A-P-F-A, NAPFA.org, and find yourself a fee-only financial advisor. And maybe also consider maybe you would go to, I'm just trying to think if you want to manage the assets or you want someone else to manage the assets. If you just want help, that's what I would do. If you want someone to actually manage the assets for you, then potentially I might go to the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards website, which is letsmakeaplan.org. Right, Mark? Org. So give that a try. Okay, Delphine, who's got the best name so far in this segment, says, I have a trust fund from my mother who passed away, more than 15 years ago. Every month I receive a statement with my account details. In the last year, the balance has decreased significantly. Should I close the account and put my money in a CD? I got to see what's in there. Let's see why why did it go down? Did you pull money out? Did you invest in something weird? We need more details. I can't tell you what to do unless we actually know more. Okay? Does that seem reasonable? Okay. You're just happy I stopped talking about tariffs, right, Mark? Mm-hmm. John wants to know if I provide CFP services. I think highly of your... No, I don't do it anymore. This is from someone in Illinois. I don't know where this is in Illinois. Hey, send him the name of that dude in Chicago. Yeah. And then we'll hopefully get you some help. 61 years old, plan to retire in 3.5 years. That's so great. What's it going to be like when we retire, Mark? Me? Yeah, I better make sure you make a lot of money before then. I don't know. It's so weird. I never really think about it. I do like what I do. It's true. Okay. Rosemary lives in Delaware. Kids live in San Antonio, Texas. I want to open a college savings plan for them. How do I get started? This is excellent. You can go to is it Saving for College or Save for College? I think it's Saving for College. Yes, savingforcollege.com. You can open a plan in your name with the kids as the beneficiaries, or you can look into the Texas plan. But I think I would probably keep it to your plan. Might be easier. And I'm sure that Delaware has a plan. And like that. Okay, so savingforcollege.com, lots of information there. You're listening to Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we want to hear from you. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to jillonmoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And if it is August, we are going to address your email questions because I got so backed up earlier in the summer. Boom, boom. Whew. We're doing it. We're doing it, baby. Okay, Rosanna and her husband recently moved their brokerage accounts from Merrill Lynch to Vanguard. Well, I bet that resulted in some nice cheaper fees. Okay, so all of the mutual funds and exchange-traded funds transferred over. And I see that it is a conservative mix of bonds and some equities. I'd like to sell our current positions and buy Vanguard index funds that more accurately reflect our risk tolerance. I don't understand the tax implications of doing that. There will be, I realize I could be charged transaction fees, but I don't know how that will work either. Can you provide guidance? All of those funds that you had should have come over with a cost basis. And I presume that most of these are long-term capital gains. And if they didn't come over with that cost basis information, pull up your most recent Merrill Lynch statement, and they probably have your cost basis. So let's just say that you bought something at 20 and it's now 30. The difference, that $10, if you've held it for more than a year, is a long-term capital gain. And depending on your tax bracket, you'll pay some long-term capital gains taxes. So long-term capital gains are the highest capital gains rate would be 23.8%. But it could be as low as 15% because if you're married filing jointly and you make less than $488,000 a year, it's only 15%. So you need to figure that out, and you need to ask Vanguard what the transaction fees would be. Now, that said, I wouldn't be so quick to move everything. Maybe you want to spread it out over this year and next year. But you're very smart to ask these questions before you do anything. All right? So get that cost basis information. Mary writes that she is a special educator by profession, but I must work full-time now to make ends meet. I've got 4 credit cards, an equity line of credit, and I don't think I can do anything about my equity line. It can't be refinanced. It's never going away. Let's see. So she's got a bunch of payments. I don't know if I'm in... She's thinking about bankruptcy. Are there other options you should be considering? I think that, look, if you want to know about bankruptcy, what you do is you talk to a bankruptcy attorney in your state. I mean, you could conceivably try to negotiate with your credit card lenders, but I would go see an attorney and find out what the rules are. So that, to me, is something that you should consider. Okay. Let's see. Julie writes, I have a question about a backdoor Roth conversion. My background first. My husband is a stay-at-home dad. I'm working. We're in our late 30s. The only major financial debt is our mortgage. I'm maxing out my 401k contribution, which is a Roth. My income does not allow for a Roth IRA, but I do contribute to an IRA every year and immediately, meaning a non-deductible IRA, I think, and then convert it to a Roth. I contribute to our 529 with any extra cash that goes into a brokerage account. My question is, for a non-working spouse, can we also do a backdoor conversion? Mark, I think the answer is yes. There's a lot of spousal IRA info, but I'm pretty sure you can because it would be a non-deductible IRA contribution for him because you can't take if you can't take the IRA contribution or if you don't qualify for the Roth yourself because of your income, neither will your husband. But I think he can do basically what you do. Mark, let's check on that just in case. This is for Julie. And see if we can give her a link on that. Be very interesting. Kevin writes, oh, God. Let's see. Here's a problem. So Kevin writes that basically it looks like he's been hacked and wants to know credit card information, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you have to go to ftc.gov. Head over there like in a hurry. And you want to report this and then also alert the credit. And then at ftc.gov/complaint, then you're going to follow a bunch of directions. So there are specific steps you ought to be taking. Okay? So that's important. Marvin writes that he listens to me on the way home from church. Is that okay? Is that kosher? I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't promote Vanguard. I like Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, what else? Charles Schwab, Fidelity, all the places where you can get cheap index funds. The question that Marvin is what would I recommend for a 76-year-old senior looking for decent returns and safety? Most of my investments are index annuities, which I don't like, but I'm locked in for a while. Oh, man, I need more information. I don't know if you should do it. I need to know how much money we're talking about. Is this your emergency reserve fund or your investments? And I'm not going to give you advice till you tell me more. Terrible of me to say that. Oh, man. Here's one from Jeffrey. His in-laws are in their 70s. They've got 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 timeshares that they're trying to get out from under. My question is, if they pass away before us, I know that by law we don't have to accept the timeshares. However, does that work if there's some inheritance to be left to us? Would the timeshares demand to cover their lifetime maintenance fees? Do you know any reputable companies that want to help unload the timeshares? This reminds me of my mother-in-law. Did I ever tell you about this? Yeah. When my brother-in-law came home and said he bought a timeshare, and she goes, timeshares are for suckers. It is very hard to unload them. I do not think you have to pay for anything associated with them. But I would ask an estate attorney. And I think that if your in-laws are doing any sort of estate planning, that might be something to consider if they look at this. You just get a lawyer to, kind of get a second opinion there. This is from Betsy. She's 63. She runs an Airbnb from her home. Let's see. She's an artist. What else? She loves the book. She's so cute. And she said, listen to this. She says, your book has exposed a fear in me. Who or what kind of professional can advise me to vanquish a student loan that I haven't paid on because of the personal deception imposed on me by my art department chair fiance amidst the existence of criminal acts and, quote, theologies that I witnessed around him and the university? Mark, I have no answer to this. I don't know if did you make a complaint with the university? You can't get out from under these student loans. So I don't have it. My advice to you is that you better go figure out what's going on with those student loans because they could explode in your face. You cannot get out from under them by ignoring them. So can you please try to check that out? Please, 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 pretty please. That would be so good. Matt loves my appearances on CBS 3 in Philadelphia. And he says, my girlfriend and I said that we both want to spend the rest of our lives together, just not get married. advantages or disadvantages of living together for the rest of our lives compared to marriage. You know what? It's not huge, but marriage can help with estate planning. It can help with some healthcare decisions. Even if you're if you're not going to get married and you're going to live together, you may need to do a little bit of extra estate planning. So I would see an attorney. If you are going to spend the rest of your lives together, you want to put your financial plan together and also your estate plan together. And it's very exciting. No judgments here. Live together, get married, do whatever you want. But it's usually a little bit more work just because marriage confers certain legal aspects to passing assets and taxes in general that might be helpful to you, okay? You are listening to Jill on Money, the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. Hey, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at Jill on Money. That's where we are. Even Facebook, right? There we go. I forgot about that one. All right, we'll be right back.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, she's all over the place. Go to JillOnMoney.com to find it all. Now back to the show with Jill Schlesinger.
You are back. It's hot, hot, hot here in August. And we are blowing through your emails because I got really backed up. And I'm sorry for that. However, you know what? We're rocking it. We're getting it done. So spending a little extra time, doing some extra segments like that. Okay, so we got an email from somebody who was issued a settlement from a case due to death. It's a terrible situation. And the question is about the investment advisor that was chosen. So here's what is the note. I'd like to make sure I've made a good decision with my money going forward. My daughter also has a trust, and I own my home and rental property free and clear. I've got no debt. So how can I do that? Okay. What I would do in this situation is I would get a second opinion, and I would do that from a fee-only financial planner. You can find that kind of person on NAPFA, NAPFA.org. And you want to be careful. And you know what, Mark? What we should do is we should invite this person to maybe send us the allocation. And that way we could potentially take a look at it and have someone else take a look at it. You know what I'm thinking about? Okay, good. So let's do that. Terrible situation. I don't want to go into too many details here. This is a question from Elise, who is a stay-at-home mom, 2 kids, and wants to know, should I go back to work part-time? I have a master's in higher ed. I'm looking for a part-time position at a local university. $20 an hour, no benefits. I know there are social benefits for me to going back to work. I don't know if the finances work out. My spouse and I are in the top tax bracket. My take-home would be very little. Is there anything you would recommend that could offset the taxes it feels more worthwhile to work? Well, no benefits. No benefits. But do they do they allow you to contribute to their retirement account? That could be a possibility. Or maybe you could write off some things that come with that. I don't know. I don't want to go too crazy. You obviously don't need to work. Now you just want to work. So even if you are in a high tax bracket, and let's say you're in the 50% tax bracket, and even if you just took home a little bit of money, a little bit is more than nothing. And if you want to work and you want to feel more productive, that could be really an important step for you. So I don't know. I think you might want to try it out. Just saying. Okay. All right. Hold on. Credit scoring. Hold on. I'm waiting for this because, of course, my internet connection has died, Mark. Okay. I hear you on occasion when I tune into KMOX in St. Louis. My question, why is it that banks give you 30 days grace period to pay your credit card balance, but the bureaus drop your score when you have a balance? That's so true. It's ridiculous. I have Credit Karma. I pay attention to it, but I noticed this. Can you get the credit reporting bureaus to explain all of this to us? I wish I could. I find this to be a very thorny area. I guess that I had always thought that the credit reporting industry would change very dramatically after we had a couple of scandals. So the Equifax data breach was kind of enough for me. And maybe it wasn't enough for anyone else, I guess, because no real substantive changes have occurred in terms of that. So I don't know. I just it does not appear to be changing. Okay. Bill writes, I'm recently divorced. House is on the market. I'll be getting in the neighborhood of $150,000 when all is said and done. I would like to buy another house, maybe in the neighborhood of $230,000 to $270,000. I will soon be 65. 65? And getting divorced. I'm wondering whether to take a 10, 15, or 30-year mortgage. Putting the majority of cash down on the house is also an alternative. I'm paying $2,700 per month on a mortgage and tax payment. It stretches a little bit. I'd like to get my payment down to $1,500 to $1,800 a month. I would like to work a few more years, sell my business. Would use the proceeds as partial retirement income. Only have about $150,000 right now saved for retirement. Better to take a shorter or longer term mortgage. My ex suggested a different approach with cash from the house. Instead of putting the full $150,000 into the house, use a lower amount and invest the rest. What do you think on these scenarios? You know what I think, Bill? I think that you should rent for a little bit. I think that you should use this opportunity, big, huge change in your life. And I think that you may want to have a little flexibility and be a renter and see how that goes and not put a gun to your head about this because you don't have a ton of liquidity. I like the idea of putting less money down, but are you sure you want to actually buy a house right now? Chapter 4, smart things dumb people do with their money. You buy a house when you should rent. Times of transition can make you do some loopy things. If you are hell-bent on buying, then I would put down 20, 30%. I'd get a 30-year mortgage and then give yourself flexibility so that you would be able to pay it down later. But that'll be the easiest on your cash flow. Mary is a low-cost index investor. Is there a way to avoid deep market cycles that come around every 10 years? I want to keep my gains from the last 10 years. Money's in an IRA. Oh, yeah, let me just get my magic wand and give you that. Okay, what you could do is you could put more money in safer stuff, like the bond market or in cash. But the thing that's interesting here is that if you do that and the market keeps going up, you won't make as much. That seems to me a very good trade-off. So one of the ways that you can make sure that you don't lose money is not have as much money at risk. But by doing so, what would happen is that you would obviously forego the upside. Can you do that? Can you? I think it would be very good for you to at least ask that question. All right? Okay, you are listening to Jill on Money, and we are slamming it with these fantastic emails. If you have a question, give us a holler. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Go to JillOnMoney.com. That's our website. You too can buy my book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of a show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we would like to hear from you. Hey, maybe it's a career question. I really like the career questions too. I've just been interviewing a ton of people about workplace, about leadership, about team building. I'm really into this. Why are you staying at your job if you hate it? It's a good labor market. Hurry up. It could just change at any moment. Even for those of you who are in industries that are not actually experiencing rapid growth. I know. It always feels good to stay safe. And maybe you should stay, but you might want to pick your head up and see what's out there. Okay, here's a follow-up from Sue. She wrote in and said, how can she generate $15,000 from a $400,000 portfolio? And she said that she was conservative. And so I wrote back like, hey, I don't know. Like, if you're conservative, you might not get $15,000. And she followed up by saying, if you don't mind continuing the conversation, could I basically talk about what a conservative portfolio really would look like? And I had said 65% in safer stuff. And so what is safer stuff? That could be some combination of CDs, high-yielding money market, short-term and intermediate-term bonds, some income-generating stuff. Maybe even like I put a tiny position of REITs in there maybe. And then she says, what would the other 35% look like? That would be riskier investments. Basically stocks, stock mutual funds, maybe some U.S. stocks, maybe some dividend-producing stocks, and also some international stocks. But, when you're looking at this, just be careful, because often we'll get people who will say to me, oh, I really want safe stuff. And then the market goes up and they trump their own real desires. So whatever your allocation is, just try to stick with it. Okay, Laura writes, we've been putting money away for our children. They're now 11 and 14. We've been using a 529 plan for college. We will have enough to cover tuition to a California state school for undergraduate, hopefully have some extra money for graduate school. At this time, though, California universities are incredibly impacted, and the better ones turn kids away who are high achieving. Oh, my God. My children are also citizens of the Netherlands. They can attend university there for a very low cost, $3,000 for a 3-year bachelor's program taught in English, slightly more for grad school. We would like our kids to finish grad school, ideally without taking on any debt. Our oldest is approaching high school now. We're seriously seeing this as a good plan B, which could leave them with money left over at the end to even start their lives. However, the money in the 529 plan cannot be used for expenses at these schools without penalty. My question is, since this is an option, should we stop contributing to the 529 and put future money elsewhere? And if so, where, considering we have 4 to 7 years until they start university? Ready? Stop putting money into the 529. Just stop. Because, you can accumulate. It sounds like you've done a very good job accumulating money. At the very least, what you can do is you can hedge your bet, put it in a plain old investment account, make it somewhat of a more balanced portfolio considering the 4 years. Maybe a little bit more than balanced, maybe 60-40, 60 stocks, 40 bonds, something like that. And let's judge. And I think this is a great idea. Okay, continuing on the student loan debt issue. I just watched your recent appearance on CBS this morning, and I plan on forwarding the video to a recent college graduate. I have a question. This recent graduate has an obscene amount of debt, approximately $60,000 for an undergraduate degree, and she currently makes $38,000 a year. My question is as follows. You stated that student loan debtors should pay more than required. Why? Her required monthly payment is based on her income. Okay, that's different. In other words, if you have, I don't know if she has an income-based repayment or they just based it on that. So if she has income-based repayment, it doesn't matter. That's a different issue. I was talking about people who just graduate with that debt. But what the issue here that Tom says is that with an income-based repayment plan, after making 20 years of monthly payments, the remainder of the debt will be forgiven. That's true for income-based repayment. So now I was really talking about people who don't have income-based repayment. In other words, if you just come out of school and you haven't done that yet. So yes, if she's got an income-based repayment, fine. And of course, we have to hope that these plans all stay in place without any changes because of the current administration or the current Secretary of Education messing with this. But yeah, you're right. If you're already at income-based repayment, then you wouldn't mess with it. So good point. Okay. Oh gosh, this is a long question, so I won't do it yet. So many long questions, Mark. How am I supposed to fit? Oh, here we go. Here's Doug. What is the source you use when you write wages are rising faster than the inflation rate? The Bureau of Labor Statistics has both of those things. So wages are up by over 3% from a year ago, and inflation is up by less than 2% from a year ago. So that's where that number comes from, Doug. Okay, you're listening to Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, just give us a holler. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. And don't forget, go to the website. And there at JillOnMoney.com, you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are broadcasting live from the Policy Genius studios. Policy Genius is the easy way to compare and buy insurance. Just go to policygenius.com. Okay, let's see. Carl wrote in about an article that was published in the Chicago Tribune that I wrote called Many Workers Feeling Confident About Retirement. So this was usually I do an analysis of this annual survey by the Employee Benefit Research Institute, or EBRI. And they release something every year called the Retirement Confidence Survey. And so retirement confidence is definitely inching up, for sure. What Carl wrote was that I talked about this, but then there was another article about why you need to establish a retirement plan now. And so the question from Carl is the difference on one level, folks think they have things well in hand, but when the details, a look under the hood, are scrutinized, one has to conclude that folks are deluding themselves and engaging in irrational exuberance. Yeah, I mean, that's what's so fascinating. People say they feel confident. They say, I'm on track, but none of them are running the numbers, or very few of them are running the numbers. So how can you feel confident if you're not actually running the numbers? That's something to really consider. So I think that may be a piece of the puzzle here. Yeah, you're right. It's a little disconnect. Okay. Here's a question about tenants in common voice versus joint tenants with rights of survivorship. So this woman, Gretchen, writes that her friend who does a lot of real estate closings say that if agreements don't specify, the default is tenants in common. I know it applies to my state. I'm not sure about other states. Why do so few people understand the difference? Here's what happens. Tenants in common means that you two own a property together, and then your share upon death goes down to some person. You have to name who gets that share. Could be your kids or whatever. Joint tenants with rights of survivorship means your share automatically goes to the person with whom you co-own the property. You should ask your attorney which is the best ownership option for you, and yes, affirmatively make that decision. Great question. Okay, thanks for listening. It's been so much fun. Any questions? Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. And if you've missed any part of the show or want to catch up with old ones, or you want to subscribe to our podcast, go to JillOnMoney.com. JillOnMoney.com is the website. You can get our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Radio.com, Google Play, anywhere else you find your favorite podcast. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.